As the cold grips the country, Eskom says it's resumed load reduction in 7 provinces. Although the power utility claims this is not rolling blackouts, it says there's been no load shedding for over 100 consecutive days due to what it says is sufficient generation capacity. Eskom warns that network overloading has resurfaced with the onset of winter. It claims it has no option but to implement load reduction to protect its assets from repeated failures and explosions, which pose a risk to human life as well. Affected Eskom supply areas include Limpopo, Western Cape, Eastern Cape, Gauteng, Mpumalanga, KwaZulu-Natal as well as the Northwest. About 94% of the total overloaded transformers are in these areas due to electricity theft and what is said to be indiscriminate use of electricity. It says transformers damaged by overloading can leave an area without power for up to 6 months. In the areas where load reduction has been implemented in the past, Eskom says it has seen a significant drop in equipment failure and prolonged outages. All right, now joining us to discuss this further is Eskom spokesperson Daphne Mokwena. Ms. Mokwena, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us on The Full View. Can we start with again making the distinction between load reduction and load shedding? Because there are still those who hold the view that if both load reduction and load shedding leave them without electricity, then it's the same thing.
Good afternoon, Fundo, and good afternoon to your viewers. Load reduction and load shedding are two different processes that we implement. So if I may start with load reduction, which is a process that has been long established. It's not the first time that we are implementing load reduction. We normally don't implement it when we implement load shedding. That's one. But what it is basically a process that we implemented, or we started implementing some time back. But we implementing it, and when we implement it, normally we would have enough available capacity like we're having today. For an example, we have about 32,000 megawatts of generation capacity. But when we implement load reduction, we are implementing it because our network or isolated specific networks are overloading. And what overloading means is that customers that are connected to that particular network are basically consuming electricity that is more than what that particular network is designed to cater for. And this is because we basically design our networks to cater for what the customers would have applied, but we would also add some contingency for customers that would want to upgrade. But in this case, you have those networks where customers are consuming electricity indiscriminately, and because the reasons are that most of these customers would have bypassed their meters, so they are not buying like you and me for the services that they are using. Hence, they are using electricity indiscriminately, especially when it's so cold like yesterday and today. And then we've got the infrastructure like your transformers integrity being at risk, where we have seen transformers now popping all over the show where obviously we're experiencing this particular overloading. So we will then implement what we call load reduction to basically switch off that network, that particular network, to avoid these transformers from popping or from exploding, or to basically protect our infrastructure. And also,
pardon me for interjecting there. So
yes,
essentially, you're saying these are illegal connections that you're dealing with in most cases.
In most areas where we have audited these areas, it is due to illegal connections.
So if you then implement load reduction, it would be for those who connected illegally, but also for those who have legal connections.
And unfortunately, because we've got customers that are paying embedded within, these networks, unfortunately, then the paying customers get affected by this. So by these illegal customers or customers that have illegally connected or having bypassed their meters. So in actual fact, now affecting everyone in that particular area.
Our plans are afoot, perhaps, to have some sort of a comprehensive plan to deal with these illegal connections then? Because, I mean, a number of citizens would feel hard done by if they have legal connections, they're paying for their electricity, but now they'll be affected by perhaps informal settlements behind their own residences.
Yeah, look, it's not just with the informal settlements, by the way, Mfundo. We've got customers, I'm sure you'd have seen in some areas where we've got backyard dwellers. We would have designed for one house, and you've got 15 houses behind or somebody's house, meaning that those 15 households that are backyard dwellers are also linked to or connected to our network and consuming electricity. And those 15 are 15 that we do not know about, and we did not even design our networks for. So for illegal connections, yes, you would have seen, I think, informal settlements, what we have done now, that is why you'd see that most of the informal settlements, as long as the area, they are not in an area that is not illegal, if they are not illegally obviously settled in that area, we would electrify those customers with obviously the working with the relevant municipalities.
So the backyard dwellers will be quite problematic then, or difficult for you to deal with. So is there some sort of a plan to eventually deal with this? Because one assumes the impact of load reduction on businesses is clearly the same and negative just as load shedding itself. So one would think if the impact on business prompted you to deal decisively with load shedding, then you would want to also deal with load reduction.
Yes, definitely. And I think we're coming from a long way with load reduction, or not load reduction, yes, in terms of also converting some areas for customers actually to do the right thing. And I think we've got areas like your Glen Austin, and I'm citing your Glen Austin. We've got Deep Blue, I think, extension 2, if I'm not mistaken. We've got Protea North customers, some extensions where we have actually excluded customers from load reduction because we worked with those customers. They actually came forward and to say that they are doing these illegal activities and they want to do right with Eskom, and we've worked with them. We've normalized their networks, and today I can tell you that those customers, even when we implement load reduction, they won't be affected.
So are you basically pinning your hopes on awareness campaigns that if you go down to the citizens and you explain the impact that load reduction will have on them, the businesses in the area, that perhaps they'll do the right thing?
Yeah, so we really, and this is hence we have all these call to action, and you have now realized that we've got a campaign called Save Your Transformer, Save Lives, where we are actually trying to talk to the hearts of our customers, those that are not, obviously, that have bypassed their meters or that have illegally connected, to do the right thing. And we know that, I mean, we have worked with the municipalities in as far as what the remedial fines that we normally charge for these customers, where we even had to actually agree with these customers to pay their fines, in tranches. So those initiatives have actually, in some areas, we have seen some gains, but unfortunately, in other areas, we're still stuck with the same behavior.
Of course, you'd want to trust that humans will do the right thing, but for those who might know of perhaps neighbors who are not doing the right thing and have these backyard dwellers that you haven't accounted for, if they wanted to give you a tip-off or perhaps be whistleblowers, is there a specific number they should call?
Yes, we've got an Eskom crime line, which is 0800112722, or they can actually WhatsApp us on the number 081-333-3323. So that once we get those reports, then we can action them. So that, and this is one way, Mfundo, of also working collaboratively with the rest of the customers out there, so that all of us can enjoy electricity, especially now that load shedding, has been suspended.
And especially because it's quite cold. Daphne, thank you very much.
It's quite cold as well. Yes.
Thank you very much for your time this afternoon.